If you're gearing up for fantasy football and you're looking for a quarterback that's not named Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Jalen Hurts, but still carry good fantasy value, this is the video for you, because in this video I'm going to give you guys the top 4 quarterbacks that are going to have a huge breakout year and bounce back that you should be looking for. Maybe you're playing in a 2-quarterback league or just don't want to take a shot on one of those high-end quarterbacks in the first couple rounds. These are some quarterbacks that are slated for a big comeback. As always, if you do find any bit of value in these videos, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. But the first quarterback on this list that is going to have a pretty big bounce back year is Justin Herbert, and this is for a couple reasons. We can all agree that he had a pretty underwhelming 2022 season with a broken rib and torn labrum, and I mean, it's not really very easy to play football on those injuries, but he tried. His wide receivers also could not stay healthy. Keenan Allen missed 7 full weeks and Mike Williams missed 4 full weeks, and that is pretty detrimental to an offense. His offensive line was also pretty banged up, and all of these things combined together just created a very underwhelming year, and one of his worst fantasy years by far, averaging 17 fantasy points a game and finishing as the QB 11, which in his terms is definitely underperforming. But now he's going to have a fully healthy wide receiver core, and the addition of new rookie wide receiver Quentin Johnson is going to really open up this offense. And Johnson also acts as a sort of safety blanket for if Keenan Allen or Mike Williams were to get injured again, because they both have pretty lengthy injury histories. Johnson ranks 6th in yards per catch and 11th in broken tackles in his college career. And the trifecta of all 3 of these wide receivers and Austin Eckler and Gerald Everett is really just going to open up this offense completely for Justin Herbert to do whatever he wants if everyone can stay healthy. And if all of this goes right, I do not doubt Justin Herbert has another top 5 quarterback fantasy year. And the next quarterback that is slated for a massive comeback and upgrade this year is Deshawn Watson, and that's pretty much because it's only up from here. But if we look back at last season, his inconsistent play was not completely his fault. He was put back into this offense only a couple weeks out from his first start, and he was essentially forced to be thrown into the fire of this Browns offense. Besides last year, his worst fantasy point year was one where he averaged 21.3 fantasy points per game, 5th most. Now granted, that was 2 or 3 years ago at this point, but he is still a dual threat quarterback with rushing and passing ability, and that is really the sweet spot for fantasy football quarterbacks in 2023. There is no doubt that he is actually very talented, even if the narratives don't want you to agree with that statement. Excluding his very first game back with the Browns, taking out that rust game, he averaged 17 fantasy points a game in the rest of that stretch, and that really isn't that bad. Now, I'm not saying he's going to finish as a top 5 quarterback, maybe not even top 10, but he has an unlimited amount of room to improve this year, and he can definitely provide you some value week to week if he's left on your waivers. But the third quarterback on this list that has room to make a comeback, and this list just keeps getting uglier and uglier, is Russell Wilson. Last season, he did not adjust to the Broncos offense nearly as good as we all expected him to be. He finished as the quarterback 16, and he had some very low lows. He had multiple games where he finished under 10 fantasy points a game. But the big theme here is that there is no Nathaniel Hackett calling plays in this offense anymore, which is pretty much the sole reason why they were losing so many games. I at least hope so. But one stat that absolutely nobody is talking about, or maybe they just don't want to acknowledge it, is that the 2 games that Nathaniel Hackett wasn't on the field calling the plays for the Broncos, Russell Wilson averaged over 24 fantasy points in those 2 games. And that would have made him a top 5 quarterback on the year. Now, I'm not saying those 2 games are going to depict his entire 2023-24 season, but his roster is getting healthier. He has a decent receiving core. Javonte Williams is coming back. Sean Payton is definitely going to elevate this offense. And at his ADP, if you just don't want to take an early round quarterback, or just whatever, maybe you need 2 quarterbacks in your league, he's definitely someone to look for, but he is a risky pick. But the last quarterback that is absolutely going to bounce back this year, that is extremely underrated in his 2022 season, is Lamar Jackson, and he had no help at the wide receiver position. Lamar Jackson's wide receivers were all dealing with injuries last year, but now he has Rashad Bateman coming back, Mark Andrews coming back, and a newly signed Odell Beckham with a very talented rookie in Zay Flowers. And J.K. Dobbins is back too. I kind of forgot about him. And he is only going to improve in the passing game on top of the rushing upside he already has now that Todd Monken is calling the plays for him, and he wants to run a more pass-heavy offense, is with the rumors that we've been hearing. And for the pure upside that he brings, his ADP is absolutely way too low. And that is making him one of my favorite quarterbacks to draft in total of fantasy football. Not even just for this comeback quarterback list. I like him a lot. But that is concluding my list of the 4 quarterbacks that are going to have a huge bounce back year this year that you might want to put in your list if you do need a late round quarterback. But if you guys got any value from this video, please go ahead and drop a like and maybe even subscribe, because if you made it this far in the video, you have to be subscribed at this point. I appreciate all you guys hanging around in this video, and I'll see you guys in the next fantasy football tip video coming soon.